Hello folks, Booker here, Ernie Project Mike. As usually, there's been more than half of our Devastation spoiled. So let's get down to business. So I'm mainly gonna look at constructed, mainly at standard. If something really crazy pops into my mind concerning like limited or other constructed formats are in standard, you'll hear me out and you'll notice. So let's see. Um, well, Nickel Ballas. So, Grix is colored. Do we have a good non-green ramp that is gonna hold up after rotation? Not so much. Do we still have it before the next block? Yes, we do. Things like Hedron Archive, the caravans, and stuff like that. I don't think you want to go for colors just to, add green to the picture, but you might want to because the card is then powerful and what we are observing right before the our devastation is a pretty down to the ground aggro slash mid range metagame. So a card like this will be really crazy, though you still have Heart of Kirin and ways to get rid of Nicol Bolas. So yeah, it's not gonna be that crazy even if somebody will come up with a playable deck that features him, because there's always cast out and all kinds of things, and just redirect and free damage of disintegration. But the card is really sick. But without things like Marvel, I don't think it will be that oppressive at all. The gods. So out of the three new gods, I guess the one that I like the most will be probably what? I suppose the black red one. It's gonna see, in my opinion, more play, or at least I like it the most. It's like the most safest one, and then, um, just card advantage removal on a stick, and it's okay no matter what. The issue I have with the blue black god is because it really wants you to be heavy on zombies. That limits its implications, and well, what can I say? It provides you with extra gas, like extra meat, right? So you convert creatures from any graveyard actually into 4/4s for yourself. But well, um, it also kind of like has a built-in protection. Well, all of them actually do, yeah. But recasting them is gonna be kind of tough. So the Scarab God has this kind of Tezzeret sort of ability. But at the moment, I would rather like stay mono black or have splash for white because Gideon is still a card, and um, even in this set, we have new toys in those black white colors, and American is still good for planeswalkers and stuff, even though you have never returned. But having an answer that can deal with planeswalkers and Heart of Kiran at instant speed, that's pretty good. But yeah, the ability is great, but by the time you get to 5 mana and if you haven't won yet, then I don't know if this guy's gonna save ya. Because it actually doesn't gain you life, you get to scry, so it would be like gain life, but then in terms of color pie, like it will be kind of weird a little bit. Maybe not so much because black does that quite often, but I don't know. I think the gain life would be much better than scry for this one. So I'm a little bit skeptical, but at the same time, I won't be surprised if it will actually see play. Its legendary is 5 mana, so that's my concern. And the fact that it doesn't exactly impact the board right away. Oh yeah, you have to untap with it, because it triggers at your upkeep. You have to untap with it. That's pretty, scary. Like, they just kill it, and you have to bounce it, and you just spend 5 mana on something that didn't directly impact the board. Yeah, if it will be unstab, I think I would be a much bigger believer in the Scarab God. The Lacrosse one, well, what can I say? Yeah, it could be broken if unchecked. It does provide you card advantage technically, you just filter away those lands in your hand. then you get all those 1/1s. I don't know, is this a new finisher for the blue-red control? There's a possibility, but then again, isn't Kefna just better? And it's just free mana, and it's indestructible, and you don't have to, recast it all the time. So yeah, that's my 50 cents on all those guys. So Samut, people say that Arlen Court is still better than this, but then once Arlen is gone, then maybe someone will see play. Um, what can I say? I'm not super excited about it. I think the card is just alright. So -2, you get to distribute 2 damage to creatures and players. So yeah, it can ping planeswalkers, so that's good. Giving double strike could be relevant. And then what? Up to 2 creatures or planeswalkers, put them on the board. Yeah, so it has some kind of like Nahiri thing about it. It can help actually to get something like Razaket out of your deck. Is that gonna be a thing? What else? Okay, well, right. So part of me thinks of some Naya mid-range with Samut and Nahiri while it's still around, and go Emrakul. Oh, I mean, not Emrakul, Ulamog. But Nahiri just puts it into play. So you don't get the cast trigger, neither is this. So you have to come up with something sweeter than Ulamog, because that's not gonna quite cut it. But I feel like with both Samut doing this tutor thing and Nahiri, maybe you can do some broken stuff. So getting Razaket out could be pretty sweet. Because then only get, okay, you put it into your hand, but okay, we need something along the lines of Ashen Rider, I think. But I don't think there is anything like that. I'm a fan of the Sunmare, so the stable standard format. What can I say? The first ability is kind of weird, to say the least. But the second one already makes it playable, and you don't want to like play this in Black White Zombies, for example. I don't think so. It's probably for some like Black White mid range where you could just soar in every turn, the Caracal, the Cats. I mean, um, maybe something like Renewed Faith. So the consistent way of gaining life. Well, it could be Gisela, for example. That would be crazy, curving out Giselle into this. That's pretty sick. That's a lot of power on the board right there. Now this is that good enough? So I really like the card, but I don't think it's gonna be that insane. But it's sweet. Though it's a mythic, well, I kind of understand why. It has this crazy feeling about it. So what can I say about the Sphinx? Well, we have a few Sphinx that are actually playable, and what's then? Okay, reveal the top when its or another Sphinx enters, and then opponents. So you get Factor Fictions, right? What can I say? There is a chance. There is a chance that this will see play somehow, but right now, like, where would you play it? Even if you're like blue-red or blue-white control, Hulk is still the cool thing to do. So you kind of have to go deep with this guy. But I don't know. We have to see more playable Sphinx creatures, I guess. So we have the cycling one, right? And I think there was another one, the Carless one. Was that a Sphinx? So that could be a thing. But then, okay, you get a bunch of Factor Fiction triggers, but what is it gonna do for you? So Razaketh, yeah, so probably not gonna be too oppressive, because it just puts it into your hand, and you have to sacrifice another creature and pay some life. And this thing is legendary, and it's triple black, and 8 mana, etc. Of course, for the lore, for the storyline purposes, it's awesome like to see that thing out, and it's actually good, and it's probably much better in eternal formats. But I have to speculate first of all in terms of standard, right? Um, right now, I don't exactly see it. Because then if you go Samotar Nahiri and fetching up this guy, then what? It doesn't have lifelink, for example. So that's a little bit tricky. So it is crazy, but there are no real like cheaty ways to, get this out into play quickly. Oh yeah, no, wait. There's the Liliana, the 5 mana planeswalker in standard, so she can bring this in, and then there were other 5 mana reanimation spells, I think. So yeah, but is this good enough for standards right now? I don't think so. Apart from like those reanimations things, well, disintegration is a big factor. I don't think this would be that crazy. Right, Nahab or Will. Like this card a lot actually. But right now it competes with Avasan and Glorybringer, and those are probably better at what they're doing, and just for the format. If the metagame shifts a little bit, I could see this being considered in those kind of more do whatever mid-range decks. Um, what else? I don't know. There could be some kind of like black red mid-range that would want this and Glorybringer. So I could see that happening. Majestic Mirror something. Chimera. So power toughness equal twice the number of creature you control. Okay, that's a good start. And then begin of each combat if you control creature with flying. This thing is flying. Same for. Yeah, it does sound mythic-y to me. Question is whether it will see constructed play. I have my doubts. There are some ways to, dump things into graveyards, and there are like creatures and stuff with different abilities that might make this work. But then again, you want to go wide with this. So yeah, right now doesn't look very promising, but it's a spicy card. So the last mercies and all lost things. So really like the mercy somehow, the white one, because basically puts you back at 20. Really good tool for control, right? It's nice that it just doesn't say like gain whatever amount to life. It just sets you back to 20 or 40 in Commander. Um, well, that is also pretty damn crazy. Um, the lens not untapping part is, well, a big setback, but I think it's okay. So I also like this 3 mana domination that basically freezes your lands. It's okay, I like that. So because of this Last Mercy and Last Reckoning, some kind of like Black White 2 or Esper control could be a cool thing to be in, or just whatever Black White X control could be absent too. Right now you don't need to really counter anything that crazy off, because like letting Gideon slip in is sort of awkward because they get the token and things like that. But then again, you get the other revelation discard below, basically your new Planar Clings, and that gives me a lot of high hopes for control in this format and or mid-range. So last time a card like this was available in Standard, things went crazy because there was, Sphinx's Revelation. The tension Sphere wasn't really a thing in that deck because it would just get killed by this 6 mana spell. In this form or in the previous iteration. But the deck was pretty damn crazy. We do have Pull from tomorrow, but it doesn't gain you life, so that's a thing. But I could see some crazy deck like with Revelation, one of Mercy maybe, couple Reckonings and Fumigates and stuff like that popping up. Yeah, I could see that happening. Question is like, is it gonna be good? We'll have to see. We will have to see. Yeah, luckily none of them are instant, so you can Hulk them back. So that's good. Hour of Glory is an interesting, gonna be in some cyber cards. Not mean deckable, but maybe at some points after rotation, at least I could see that happening. Um, Maybe even main deck if the meta game shifts. But yeah, very nice thing to have as a sideboard tool. Right now, not really needed that much, but things could change, especially in autumn. Undying Fury, well, right now I don't have a shell in mind for it, but somebody's gonna bust this card. Somebody's gonna come up with something broken. Hopefully not too broken, so that's we'll see another ban. But I feel like this card has potential. Um, for a while, it's not gonna be really played that much, but after a while, things could go nuts. But let's see, it's a sleeper for me. So last word is kind of weird. I think the card is good, but is the drawback too much? Is the drawback too much? So that's the problem. There will be some weird way to play things at instant speed, so that you can control when to cast it. So to play sorceries at instant speed. So that kind of effect. So yeah, then I think this the Kefner's last word could be pretty sweet. I actually like the Ron's last stand. I think it's a pretty nice tool for black green aggro decks, or for red green aggro for that matter. Like, okay, fine, you don't get to cast something on turn 3, but then again, I think 5/4 on turn 2 is kind of like having the Rampager, but a bit better. So I think for bigger body and not spending energy counters, I think it's fine. Probably. Especially double. It switches on Rana, so you can even speed it up with its one drop in red. Give it haste. Yeah, I could see that being a thing. Right, Tower of Eternity, well, I don't think it's a standard card or anything like that. Somebody might break it in some eternal formats with combo like infinite mana and then just this being a pretty sick mana sink. So, for example, well, yeah, you have those, each player draws X, that kind of stuff when you go infinite mana. You can do this. Um, I don't know. Could be really sweet in Commander, but do you really need it there? So we don't have yet the red one. Do we have the green one? So we get 2 lands stepped into play. So it's kind of like that 4 mana green spell that we used to have that puts 2 forests stepped into play. But for an extra mana, if you just search up a bunch of deserts, then you get 2/2. So yeah, I feel like this card is pretty actually damn crazy. Um, you don't have to search deserts, first of all. You can just search up dual lands or some other value lands. Then, what can I say? So for 1 extra mana, you get any lands, and then sometimes you get a couple of 2/2s. I think that's pretty damn good. So the question is like what you're gonna ramp into. Now that's, well, you don't have Marvel, so I mean, you can still ramp into Olamox, but is it gonna matter? So what's the payoff? Just have it in a bunch of deserts and play that do stuff? Or just have those tutus? So I really like the card. I just like can't exactly envision the shell for it right away. Like what will be the package for the card? All the defeats are good. All are playable. Nice to have them around. Um, they're all super narrow, super situational. So we'll have to see. Some Eternal Form is gonna be thankful for those, because, well, what can I say? Liliana's defeat is gonna be actually useful in Modern, I think. You get to kill Lily's or Death Shadow, or Angler, or Tasigur, and then they'll I mean, make them lose 3 damage, 3 life as well if you kill like Liliana. So yeah, I really like the card. Uh, in that context. So the Jerry is like your Talia's Lancers. So it serves up you a Planeswalker. Well, also, it kind of like protects them a little bit. I think I like First Strike as a keyword better than Vigilance, and then the free toughness is a little bit tricky because of stuff like Harness Lightning, for example, and Sweltering Suns. But yeah, I think it's still good. So it's another toy for black-white mid-range. Uh, yeah, so maybe after all, you don't need the third color. You could just go, what is it? Your Damnation, your Hour of Revelation, your Last Mercy Reckoning, Talia's Lancers, this guy. I don't know. You could do all that. The problem is, Revelation's gonna knock the saddle away, but then again, maybe you just don't have to play it, because you will be mid-rangey and so on. I really like the champion, so it doesn't have flash, but it's still like draw 2, discard 2, and you get a 2-1. Yeah, count me in, and you can flashback the cards. So real love the cards, definitely standard playable and so on. So next guy is a zombie. So instead of just clicking out, I can just tell you what it basically does. Um, when they cast a spell, what was it? You put a minus one counter on it. When it actually connects with the face, then you remove all the counters. And then I think if they block it, then they lose 3. This card is just bonkers, and I'm a little bit scared because this could be not just in zombies, because it's a zombie, but it can be in vehicles, it can be in black green energy, whatever flavor of black green. It's just sick. It's just so sick. You don't really want to block it, because then you lose life, and you don't want to take damage because they have this heavy beater. I mean, it's a crazy card. It could be even more unplayable, I think, because it's pretty good in my opinion. So I would buy them like real quick, because at the very least they're gonna be really busted in standards, I think. Yeah. Imminent Doom. Well, it's an interesting card. First time I read it, I feel like it's gonna be a bit hard to make it going, because it's nice to have that incremental damage here and there, and you can also like target face or creatures. But it says like spell with convert mana cost equal, and not like equal or less. This is why it's gonna be a bit problematic. It has enter with one doom counter, so yeah. With the first spell, you still get to ping. So where I could see this in a deck with a bunch of cheap spells, and the deck that actually wants to play a bunch of cheap spells, and what I have in mind is basically not actually blue red control. I could see that this card actually being good there because you just throw a few magma sprays here and there, some 2 mana counter spells and so on, and you just keep on pinging stuff away. Yeah, could work, but if you go Thing in the Ice, Enigma Drake, Serpent, Reveler, that sort of jazz, and then a bunch of Zendikar block cantrips, the Expedite, and so on, then you can really make really good work out of this because it scales up, and if you just throw a bunch of shocks and sprays, then yeah, things can go like pretty funny real quick. I'm Cage. Well, seems like Frankly Portlist is excited about this search card in Modern. I could see that. It does have this weird harvest feel about it. Um, I don't know. So you search them up, but you still put them into your hand. Well, okay, it's not like you get to give them cards. Um, and with different names. Okay, so it's kind of like balanced weird harvest. Um, is it? Yeah, it's pretty much like weird harvest, but they don't get anything. Yeah, I guess I like that. I guess I like that, but you have already so many tutors and everything. Um, in modern, and this one is not gonna be the best one, definitely. So I don't know if you really need that kind of stuff. Splendor. Well, what can I say? It's 8 mana. It's a what is it? Moat or humility basically, and yeah, it does a bit more than that, and of course it will be crazy to print something this powerful at like 4, 5, 6 mana, I guess. Um, and then just because they didn't want to make it cheap on mana, they also made it non-symmetrical, so it's only one player, right? So all your stuff still is like mighty and powerful. Well, it's gonna be crazy for Commander, that's for sure. Though it only says like enchant player, so it's kind of like fixed for Commander. Otherwise, I guess it will be a bit too busted. Uh, yeah. But then again, your stuff still does things, and they had to do it some way. I mean, if it would read like every player's stuff except for your stuff, yeah, that would be a bit too much, I guess, for multiplayer formats. Um, just player can't activate abilities that aren't mana abilities or loyalty abilities. Gee, so this switches off all the planeswalkers and everything. That's just sick. That's rather sick. Just the effect is really powerful, but like 8 mana, yeah. So I don't know, maybe. Let's say maybe as a one-of sideboard card in some ramped control deck against similar decks, perhaps. But yeah, 8 mana. So yeah, the Obstructionist is really good. So think of Indolent Click. Uh, I think it's close on the power level of that. This one, so even in Eternal formats, you get to cycle this. You get to draw a card. Okay, it's 3 mana, but they don't fetch. So imagine a Trig Binds that costs 1 more but draws you a card. And whenever it's needed, it's a free one flash flyer for free. And yeah, I would buy like a bunch of those because this is gonna be all format staple in my opinion. Right, let's maybe finish up this row and I'll guess I'll go through other cards in the next part. Um, so Torments, not a huge fan in the weird Soul Tie or Blood Green X kind of weird deck with 5 mana Lily, possibly that's 8 mana Demon, uh, and some ramp. You could probably justify this. I could see this happening because if you build your deck right, um, this cards by itself would not be punishing, but combined with everything else the deck is probably inclined to do. I think that would be crazy. But I don't think it's gonna be a too powerful card. But of course, in multiplayer, this is bonkers. Next card, what it actually says is that when this guy enters, you deal 3 to each other creature. Well, that's okay, but it's at 6/6 with no keywords and it costs 7, so I'm a bit skeptical about this. But it is nice to have these kind of cards around, I guess. But it's probably also again for Commander guys. Price Sovereign. So what about this cat tribal everybody's talking about? Well, if you put 4 of those and put 4 of the Caracals in your deck, that's probably something. This card is also fine on its own. Then you have the Sacred Cat, the Embalm one, and you have the Double Strike one. And of course, for a while you'll still have Gideons and stuff like that. And all the nieces and so on. So yeah, maybe you can just warp your green-white mid-range green-white tokens a little bit and just make it a little bit more Savannah-like with a bunch of lions and cats and stuff like that. Yeah, I could see that being a thing. Alright, so I'm gonna start with, I guess, Angel of Condemnation in the next part. So yeah, thanks for watching and watch out for following videos. Until the next sale, goodbye folks.